Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, or good evening, must I say. Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 31, and we're here at Pakhuis de Zwijger for the kick-off conversations and drinks of the Amsterdam Art Week 2023. For art lovers and culture geeks, this is a golden week because the whole city is buzzing with artistic activity of the Amsterdam Art Week and all the events to the Holland Festival, which is opening coming Thursday. May the arts be with you, everybody. My name is Maurice Leekie and I'll be your host tonight. In this show, a collaboration of Amsterdam Art and the Amsterdam Museum in Pakhuis de Zwijger, we talk about the theme openness and the power of collaboration. The emphasis tonight is on the future of the art field. How can we open up the arts and cultural sector? We try to answer questions as, what is the state of the term hospitality in our current art climate? Which factors influence this? How do various institutions and disciplines relate to each other, and what effects does it have on the industry and its visitors? What forms of hospitality do we know, and from which best practices can we learn? We discuss this with our panelists, but also, of course, with our esteemed audience. And talking about the audience, let's take a look, because this is a very big, impressive crowd. So this is a non-scientific inquiry I'm going to do, but who's working at an art gallery? Please raise your hands. Okay, some gallerists are here. Nice. You can applaud also for the gallerists who are here. And who's working at a museum or an art academy or a cultural institution? Okay. Pretty much people are working there. Who's working as an art critic or a writer or journalist? Ah, the journalists are over there, sitting next to each other. Interesting. Who is a curator or working at a project space? Some curators. Welcome. Very interesting. Who's an art collector? Some art collectors here. Yes, very important. We need collectors. And who is a patron of the arts? All right, the patron of the arts. And last but not least, but who is an artist or a maker? A big shout out to you, because you make everything possible. The artists and the makers. So that gives a pretty good picture. Is there somebody who is not represented or identified by one of these labels? Maybe? Yeah? Okay. All right, we're with art lovers amongst each other, and that means that we can speak freely now. But I want to warn you, because everything is recorded and live streamed, so everything you say can be used against you during the course of the rest of your lives. If you want to share your experiences tonight, you can use the hashtag on social media, and the hashtag is hashtag AAW 2023. All right. Okay, my English. Okay, we're gonna talk with somebody very special this week. She's the director of the Amsterdam Art Week. She celebrates her first edition of this great event, and actually she serves as a art mayor of Amsterdam, and that's also in her name. Big applause for Martina Halsema. Martina, welcome. It's your own art week.
Yes, thank you.
Your own stage. This is your event.
My couch.
And this is your couch. Let's start with a personal question. What does art mean for you personally?
I think art for me means everything in life. I think art can be found in a museum and a gallery space, but also in life itself, in connections that you make with other people, new encounters, being surprised by something that you see in the streets. So I think art is everywhere around you.
Why do you think it's important, especially in this day and age?
I think if you look at what is happening in the world, I think we can use some art to sometimes be uplifted by, but also to reflect on quite important topics that I think that everybody sees that's happening all around us. But I think it's also sometimes nice to dive into a different space or a different atmosphere or maybe a different dimension of life. And be surprised.
And if we take a look at this coming week, the Amsterdam Art Week, it's a very impressive program. We're going to talk about the program more elaborately, but what do you expect from this coming week?
Well, I know it can be a bit overwhelming. At least I've heard from everyone that it's such an extensive program, so people don't always know where to go to. But we can help you navigate through the program because there's something for everyone. But what do I expect from the week? I think most importantly, the people meet. This is finally a moment after Corona. I mean, last year, of course, Corona was just past, but it didn't really feel like that. So I think this year, finally, we're happy to engage with each other. So I think I'm happy when there are new collaborations, new friendships, maybe even, new projects on the horizon. And
new art babies, maybe?
Maybe new art babies, yeah. Why not? We have special evening programs as well, so with some alcohol, so yeah.
The program is very impressive. You have more than 50 locations, so it's very huge. Can you share some highlights still in that overwhelming program?
Of course, it's also feeling a little bit like you're choosing your favorite child.
Yeah, kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings. But yeah, of course, this is already a very nice highlight of the program since we kick off with different institutions. So altogether, this is something that really reflects on the Amsterdam Art Week. But of course, tomorrow we have the opening of the Rijksacademy, so the open studios. Definitely a highlight for everyone to visit. If you can't make it tomorrow, it's open for 2 more weeks. On Friday, we open up with the gallery, so it's a festive opening and all the doors are open at the same time. So you can go in, just go gallery hopping, hop on your bike or by foot. Also, the artists are present at most of the locations, so it's a nice moment to meet the artists. And in the evening, we have a special program in Hotel Arena, where we have a curated walking dinner, also with some alumni of the Rijksacademy and other artists. And if you have it, when you talk about hospitality, it's also coming with food, because I think food is the best way to start a conversation with someone. So we have a curated menu by 4 artists.
Which artists?
We have Germaine Kruip, Sarah van Zonsbeek, Navid Noor, and Ryan Gender.
Oh, are they here maybe in the room? No, okay.
All preparing for tomorrow.
All preparing for tomorrow. Can you explain why you've chosen for theme this year openness? What do you mean with openness for your organization and maybe the role of Amsterdam Art?
Yeah, I think especially for me, we have been. I mean, the last year we have been in conversation with the field, with all the different participants within Amsterdam, and what I could sense is that everybody really feels the need to collaborate more. And for that you need to be curious to each other, but also to be more open. And gastvrij, I think gastvrij is also a very nice word in Dutch. It doesn't really translate well in English because it means hospitality, and it's, well, a bit different. But I think, especially after Corona, it's very important that we all, come together again and really make this because we talk about an ecosystem, and for an ecosystem you need different players, and to have a thriving ecosystem, you need to be open and you need to collaborate.
And of course, you're organizing this week, but are there other activities during the year that you as Amsterdam Art are also initiating to play your role in this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think we already did it like a little bit, but I do want to extend to be more visible also year-round. Over the years, we have been starting to work closer with Gallery Viewer, for instance, so with the opening of the gallery season in September. So we want to make it a more special program, invite more international people, but still keep it sort of low-key as it is, but still, I think we can do more. And also during the year, some extra activities, maybe some extra studio visits to engage with our audience, but also with our ambassadors. And we have a new group of patrons and friends. So we do really want to make more activities.
There's also a very nice interview with you on Gallery Viewer. So if you can't get enough of Martina Halsema, you can go to Gallery Viewer. If we take a look at the city of Amsterdam, because we're in Amsterdam, in Pakhuis Zwijger now, but also we're in the capital of the Netherlands, and maybe one of the most interesting cities of the world. How would you describe the openness and hospitality of Amsterdam as a city?
Oh, great question. I think we have the feeling that we are really open and that we're very hospitable. I think maybe we could look a bit more critical. But on the other hand, we do have some very interesting institutions. When you look at the art world itself, for instance, the Rijksacademy and also the ateliers, of course, and the Gerrit Rietveld. And those are really institutions focusing on international talent. So they're really opening and welcoming to a crowd. So I think in that sense, we are an open city, but I think we can be more open.
More open. That's an interesting takeaway also to discuss with you during this night, to be more open, or how can we be more open maybe. Yeah, about this show, what do you hope that the result will be? We're going to talk with you at the end of the show so we can test if everything that you now expect will come about. But what do you hope?
I do hope that we have some interesting new angles, maybe a heated discussion somewhere in the middle. And I'm also very curious, what the public thinks. I think we have such an interesting crowd, so I'm also really curious about the answers and the questions, maybe from the audience.
Right. It sounds like a very big co-creation session with everybody here. I want to thank you for your first insights and the kickoff that you gave. And also wish you lots of success this coming week.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in a bit on the same stage. Thank you so much, Martina Halsema. Okay, for our next panel, I want to introduce my dear colleague Margriet Schavenmaker, Artistic Director of the Amsterdam Museum. And she will be joined on this stage by some other esteemed guests, Emily Ansink, Lara Caldi, and Marcus de Bogo de Sando. Thank you so much.
Oh, you all sit on the same couch. Well, I'm just going to put my glasses on to just give you a proper biography, because you're sort of relatively new. Some of you are very new, some of you are relatively new. So just to properly introduce, Emily Ansink is an art historian and is the director of Holland Festival, opening tomorrow, since 2019. Already, of course, 2 COVID years. From 2008 to 2019, director of the Kunsthal Rotterdam and founder and director of the private Frisia, later Scheringa Museum in Spanbroek. Marcus de Bogo de Sando is the director of the Prins Claus Fund, formerly CEO of the Arts and Culture Trust Johannesburg. And prior to that, Marcus was the CEO of the Gauteng Opera in Joburg. And in addition, also a professional singer and a stage director. And Lara Caldi, for who doesn't know, is a curator, critic and artist living between Jerusalem and Amsterdam. Since 2019, she has been a member of the curatorial team of Documenta 15, which of course gives a lot of input, I think, for today as well. And she's formerly deputy program director at the Sharjah Art Foundation and director of the Khalil Sakani Cultural Center in Ramallah, and did the curatorial program at the AAW in Amsterdam in 2014, almost 10 years ago. So just to give an insight, because we just heard also sorry for those who don't know me, artistic director of the Amsterdam Museum, and 1 day a week I work at the UvA. Openness. Emily, to start with you, 4 years now, tomorrow you're opening. Did you in any way open up the Holland Festival and make it more hospitable in your imagination, like program-wise or organization-wise?
Well, considering that when I started in September 2019, half a year later the whole world stopped and closed. So if I look back on my tenure at the Holland Festival, I can say, yes, I opened it up, for sure. But that's maybe a little bit a lame answer. I think what we did as a team is to really look at our campaigns, the language we use, the fact that we want all the international artists that we invite, about 250 each year, to feel really welcome in the city of Amsterdam.
And can you give an example? Like, what kind of measurement or what kind of thing did you sort of introduce to do that?
Yeah, it starts with very small things that all the artists that arrive at Schiphol or at the central station, they get picked up personally by someone of the Holland Festival. There's a welcome package. There are toy cards in the envelopes in their dressing rooms. They get bikes if they can bike. They get, all these little things that people kind of help to navigate into the city. And of course, we link them to other makers, Dutch makers, people from the city that are interested to meet them, like Marcus. Or it's
in a very personal way. In a way, you try to personal, relational.
Always walk the extra mile. Yeah. That's the motto of the team.
And you're ready. Yeah, you start talking to Marcus. You're here now for over a year.
Just over a year.
Yeah. And when I met you first, you were, maybe in your words, how did you experience openness and hospitality in Amsterdam? And you can be critical.
Yeah, it's a trap, right? This is a trap. So, to be very honest, it's not open, right? So let's start there. So. It's a very difficult kind of position to traverse as a head of an organization when you come into a space like the Netherlands, coming from the south with virtually very little connections with the context of where you join, and my first expectation, which, it's always, expectations are always not a good thing, right? But my first expectation was to be received very similarly how I would receive someone in my own country.
And how would that be?
Which would be almost very similar to what Emily was saying around being very conscious about the level of knowledge of the city or the town or the country that they're visiting. So I'll give you a very good example. So my team is fantastic. So I love my team, and they when the first 5 months of my working with the fund, I was in South Africa, and so they were really kind of fantastic, preparing this whole package for me of different, it was a map. It was a very cleverly done map, a Google map, with all the points of all the different places I should go and visit, and why, and there were personal kind of attachments to each of them. And when I arrived, I got this beautiful map, and I thought, oh, this is great. What do I do with it, right? And the first instruction was
it?
No, the first instruction was, you must go to these places. You must go and see all of them. And for me, that was quite weird, because I thought, that's not really how one should really do it. If someone is new to your country, you have to take them by the hand. If you want them to go and experience a particular place, go with them there, at least once. And in my country, we braai. I mean, I'm sure most of you know this word braai. We barbecue. So it's always a very good excuse to barbecue. When someone new comes into town, you're like, oh, let's go and buy some meat. And we have very good meat. And so what we would do is that we would throw a party, right?
Here you were not asked.
Oh, no. I for the first time, visited someone's home a few months back. For the very first time. And that for me was quite a shock, right? Because I was like, it's just a home. You invite someone in, and just have a drink, but nothing like that. So I think in that sense, the Dutch expectations of their own self in terms of their openness and their welcoming, it's there. It's very well-meaning, but I do not think that it is really effective in really welcoming someone from outside.
Well, I think already
so
a
sorry.
big point taken. But no, totally. Lara, you were here almost 10 years ago, and now. Did you experience any change then in openness? Got it more open or less?
I mean, my experience has changed because my situation has changed. When I was here 10, 11 years ago, I was a participant of the curatorial program at the Apple, while now I'm the artistic director. It changed because I was here temporarily. And so I did not make any friends that were also, local. It was quite passing. The curatorial program is quite intensive. You don't stay in Amsterdam. So it was a completely different experience. Now, I come with a family as well. So I have a 4-year-old who's at school speaking fluent Dutch now. And so my sense is that it's also hospitality here is very dependent on how well you are integrated and understand the system and codes. And this is, I think, problematic in the sense that, I mean, it's not, it's a structural issue, right? Hospitality has a lot of power dynamics in it. The host has power over the guest. And so how does the host use this power and convert it into a responsibility more? But it makes me think of this integration, right? That you are expected to integrate, but there is no mutual interest in your history, in your context, in how you are open. We had the same experience because also where I come from, homes are open as well. We started to open our home. So in that sense, it's about taking agency as a guest and playing host as well. I think this, converting this power dynamics as well. So how to also, but not everyone
to let the guest the lead.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
But then not everyone has this privilege of being the host, right? This is also about power and class as well. So thinking
giving, but also listening or paying attention to the guest.
Indeed.
Indeed. Yeah, and if we translate that back to the art world, because I think these personal experiences are super important. Mutuality, a word I already encountered. And Marcus, preparing also with you this, I think it's a word that you also often use. Can you share a bit more on how you changed the Prins Claus Fund based on this idea of mutuality also?
What is interesting, I actually didn't have to change the organization in that sense. That the one beautiful thing about us as an organization is that we're incredibly welcoming. So we have quite a number of our beneficiaries that visit the Netherlands quite regularly that are very open to just send an email to say, I'll be in the Netherlands, can I please come over to the office? Always there is someone to welcome them into the office, to sit with them, to have a conversation with them, to share their experiences of them being in the Netherlands, what are they doing, how are they coping with the work that they're doing in their own countries, in their own context. And in that sense, it is actually quite beautiful. I mean, the other day, an artist from Vietnam also just called, I think it was about 3 days before, and wrote, actually, no, she wrote an email to our communications person and say, is there anyone at the office I want to come and visit? And we had lunch with this person, and we sat with her, talked to her, found out what she was doing. She brought some gifts. There was a really kind of sense of camaraderie within the way we received each other. And it wasn't just a few members of the team that sat with her. The whole office literally sat around the table and had a conversation with us. And this is not an exception. This is a norm for the organization. But it's also because we have a practice of, when we do our exchange programs, where we invite quite a number of artists to come to the Netherlands, that spend either a week or 2 weeks with us, there is always a team member that is on call with them the whole time they're here, whether it's dinners or exhibitions or trips. So there is that kind of openness already. I didn't actually have to introduce it in a workplace. I think the difference is really more in a social setting where you are expected to be the one reaching out. And yet, when you look at the power dynamics of being a director of an organization, it is a little bit different to really go to a junior team member and say, would you like to go out, or would you like to take me out to your favorite spot? You know,
So that's a bit different.
That's a bit different. Whereas in South Africa, it's the opposite. I mean, we don't care who you are, right? I mean, we're going to take you to a bar, or we're going to take you to a braai spot, and we're just going to have a good time. And the levels of hierarchies are recognized and respected outside of the office as well as in the office. I think
and
that's
this, of
the
course,
difference.
this day and age also very important to sort of these boundaries.
Yeah.
Emily, today we welcomed Anoni, and it's a very different way, I think, in which you now open up to sort of guest curators and arts in residence, or how you give the key almost, and give large number of trust to artists to take over, in a way, the program. Was that the same, as Marcus just said, an institution like Holland Festival Organization that was comfortable with that? Or was it already there?
Well, I think, since 2019, we started to work with associate artists. An associate artist is a maker. And sometimes we invite one and sometimes we invite two. And of course, it changes the whole organization and the whole way of working. But we thought it was very important to have a maker at the table who really helps sculpt the program. They're not responsible for budgets or for practicalities, but they really have a seat at the table. And it's, we are taken by the hand on an adventure with, in this case, Anoni. And it's, it's a hell of a ride, isn't it?
It's quite challenging, But please all come to the fantastic programs and the opening on, which is sort of not opening, but you can come on Sunday. Because also that, she doesn't want an opening.
It's an exhibition at the Villette Holthuizen. But it helps, of course, to break boundaries and to really open up as an organization, because every year the artist that is associated is different and brings different themes at the table, different wishes, different other artists. We try to make their dream come true in a way, but also they fill in a lot of blind spots, and we learn on the go, and we learn a lot, and we make a lot of mistakes.
Well, I can, from Amsterdam Museum, totally relate to that. And it's also, in that sense, good to have these moments where it clashes, or where you have to unlearn and unpack what the biases that are already there, and it sort of holds you. Lara, Documenta, that was a ride, right? And that was, of course, based also on the idea of communality, of sharing. What are you going to bring? I mean, you're 4 months now at the Appel. What are you going to bring from those experiences to the Appel? What can we expect?
Yes, many things. I mean, that are also already at the Appel. I mean, I would have to say that it's also something different also institutionally. Like one of the things, for example, that we started to bring or think about, in Documenta, one of the great parts was this Ruru Kids. So to make kids feel welcome in the exhibition, instead of isolating spaces for kids, to integrate it. It was in one of the main buildings, actually, the Friderizianum, where there was a kitchen at the back, the kids at the front, a space where life is happening. I think as a mother, as a parent, working in the art, and also having many friends with kids, artists with kids, it's in general the community thinking about kids during programming. So not only programming for the kids, but how to include them in the events, in the talks. My colleague at the Appel has been working on this great education program, David Smolders, and has worked last year with an artist, Narges Mohammadi, on this furniture that they can draw on. So it's now in the exhibition space. They are welcome to also make exhibitions from a model in the aula. So how to kind of integrate, children is one side, but of course the quite the philosophy of Lumbung, of sharing knowledge, sharing resources, a pre-colonial kind of cosmology that is in every local culture, that you can find it in every local culture, that is already, I think, partially there with institutional collaboration and artists, but thinking less extractively on longer relationships, sustainability together. In general, it's also taking that from Documenta. Also, this artists being free to think about and to make what they would like, but also to invite others. So in Documenta, this worked really quite well, because the curator is also a power figure where they are seen as the gatekeepers
So you work with a sort of +1 model, like if you bring one or two friends, that's.
So yeah, but a community, an art, but thinking also of an art of who is an artist in a much expanded sense, right? That the artist is also can also play a host, right? Has the power also to host.
Beautiful. Are there already questions? Because we have 10 minutes left. I'm looking. I should have maybe announced that I was gonna give the microphone to you. Well, maybe just think about it. And one more question, because you gave a beautiful example, I think, with Documenta 15 of a very inspiring also model to co-create, to collaborate. For you two, and maybe first Emily, is there a model that you really, or a key exhibition that you once saw, or program that really inspired you to become more open and to do the work that you do now with Holland Festival?
Well, maybe I can tell you a little bit about our experience with Anoni and what she came up with and what we want to do this Holland Festival. Because in your busy art week, I hope you also have time to visit some of the performances. So Anoni said, as a performer, when I sang and performed, I had a very ugly relation with the press, because they kind of deviled me in their reviews, and they were always talking about my how I looked, and not only they didn't write only about my music, and that was not a relationship I wanted to have. So I stopped performing, and I focused on my visual arts, etc. And then she said, it's so transactional. If you buy a ticket and go to the theater and you expect something out of the performer, and then afterwards you can judge and say what you like or write what you like. And but shouldn't we have more empathy for each other? And audience and performers are in the same space at the same time, at this collective moment, in the here and now. So if we bring empathy into the room and have a moment to breathe in and breathe out together in a little bit in a ritual or a ceremony, wouldn't that be nice to set the room, to set the temperature of the room? So we decided on her initiative to invite elderly people, but we call them elders. It's not about age, but about wisdom and knowledge, to invite them to say a little word or say a little poem or whatever they like. They can choose themselves to kind of set the temperature of the room, and then the performance will start.
Every show?
Not every show. It will be about 8 or 9 or 10 times, but they will do at those shows every night. And it's going to be a very personal text by these elder. And
Can you name an example of somebody is from Amsterdam or is also an international guest?
No, they should be Dutch. And that was something Anoni said. They should be Dutch because it's about the Dutch context. Because you invite international artists at the Holland Festival, but to set the room, it's someone from your country that should address something. And it could be very abstract, it could be very beautiful, it could be very activist. And we're up to we're open to everything. So they have a free role in that. It shouldn't be too long,
Can you just name one? Like, who is an elder right now? Who did you select?
I can't disclose that yet.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, so
it
we
will
have to
be
come.
from tomorrow on, or actually after tomorrow. We'll publish the list. Okay. But it's actually, it is about openness and invitation, but also to make it a little bit less transactional and be more together.
Marcus, for you the same question. Do you have an inspiring?
Well, I mean,
sort of inspirational, I should say.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the work that we do with celebrating our impact awardees. As you know, last year we awarded 6 impact awards, and the individuals that we gave the awards to are really kind of very different in terms of their context and their countries and the work that they do. And what we decided to do, which was also kind of really uncomfortable in the beginning, because you didn't know how it's going to, and we still don't know how it actually will pan out. But we decided to not just celebrate them in their own country with one reception, but instead curate a 4 to 5 days event where, again, we ask them to host us in their context. We invite some of our young emerging artists that are alumni of ours to join us so that they can interact with someone who is already a change maker, someone who's already done a lot in terms of the context of their communities that they work in. And we've just had our third iteration, our first iteration in terms of the Impact Awards, but our third iteration of this mobile labs. And what has been really amazing for us has been the learnings that we got as an organization, not in terms of how we curate these things, but what we get from the participants themselves, because we open ourselves up to the public. We do not make them too protected, but at the same time, we give opportunities to these young emerging artists to also find an opportunity to interact with each other, to find means of collaboration, to open their networks. And in most cases, they really come from different contexts. And the responses that we've gotten from them has been, when you talk about hospitality, that's the one thing we've gotten right? In terms of, these kind of programs, that the way we curate them is that we come from a place of care. So they all feel kind of really protected, cared for, but also we learn from them. We open ourselves up to be able to get more wisdom, even from the emerging artists, on how we could keep on creating work that could benefit them in the future. So that for me is really exciting. So the idea of us as an organization, as long as we have been around, not to be, to use a very simple word, cocky, to think that we know everything, but that we actually use knowledge from the creatives themselves in how we can even better help them and offer better products for them in the future.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm looking at the time now, because I heard a lot of amazing reflections also, and for me also relatively new jargon or discourse on, and I like the word care, this mutuality, the elders. I really like the wisdom that you also said, I don't know, listening to, not giving a stage or something, but really opening up and listening and giving agency or having agency. So for me, very valuable already. 1 or 2 questions. There's room for that, Maurice, right? Yeah, there's always room. Yeah, always room. Yeah, there in the back. Is there a microphone there coming in? Please raise your hand. So, yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Roy, this is our hero of tonight. Yeah. Oh my God, wow. What a microphone. Thank you so much. I was wondering if I could change slightly the topic of discussion from hospitality to inhospitality. And Marcus, you mentioned Amsterdam not being so open. Lara, you were talking about Documenta 15, and that event was so marked by a very clear inhospitality that happened. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit about what you all as leaders think about in regards to strategies of resistance or survival in the context of hostility or inhospitable environments, and how you face that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think solidarity would be always because it's not. I think, in a sense, it's structural. It's not about individual. You know, whether individuals are hospitable. We're speaking about structural issues. You know, this for example, this example that you gave of the map is quite amazing, because I think that instead of trusting the mediators, which are the politicians, the map, technology, the traffic light, right? The relationship to each other, with each other, is the one to trust more. So it's in creating solidarities and working together and caring about each other's existence, right? Because today they come after me, tomorrow they come after you, in terms of an institution or an ideal that you stand for, or a value. I mean, artists are also, you hope with many, are progressive, avant-garde in society, right? They will be also attacked by some also parts of society. So I think in creating solidarities with each other and caring for each other's existence, because we are all, in a sense, part of each other's ecosystem. We form ecosystems together, and so supporting each other is one of the very basic, I think, modes of survival.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You want to add?
I mean, quickly, I'll just say, from a position of a director of an organization, when you walk into a space that is a little bit hostile in how it receives you, the first thing that you do, you also have to check yourself, right? To say, what am I doing? I mean, you know, you gave a great example of opening your own house, and I did exactly that. I mean, after a number of months of interacting with a number of people, Emily and Margriet were part of that group, I invited them all for breakfast, which had no agenda. There was a group of 10 people around the table. Some of them didn't know each other. And it was just about, we all have a shared purpose in what we do, so let us change how we receive each other. And what is interesting, and already I've had a few, even today, Emily said, I'll quote her in that, is when I had a meeting with her, she said, oh, I'm so sorry we never did a drinks for you.
Still a tone.
Right? And it's not because people don't have the intention of doing it, it's just that the culture is in such a way that it doesn't always make it simple for people to gather around together as a group. So when you're an outsider, you almost become a little bit more aggressive in how you do it. And the only thing I said to them in the room was that thank you all very much for opening your offices to me, and this is for me a way of saying thank you and putting you all in one room. And so that's how you start. So you really flip the inhospitality in that sense by really challenging. And what was amazing for me was that they all accepted. I was actually shocked that I invited and they all accepted, and we had a breakfast together.
But it also accounts for your own team, isn't it? For for freelancers, for we grow, of course, as a team for the Holland Festival, but we really invest in welcoming tables, lunches, giving more information. So I think that's also on a smaller scale very important.
But yet, at the same time, I also are running a strong program from within the organization that is very much about unconscious biases. And so because diversity is for our museum very key, and at the same time, we notice that still the dominant group is dominant, and still it's hard, you know, to deal with all the biases and the inhospitality.
But also, we always have to remember that we serve the cultural sector. It doesn't serve us. And I think if we start from that place, then we really do open ourselves up a lot more.
Yeah, I always tell also the youngest colleagues, I mean, you are the museum, you know. Tell me what to do, tell us what to do, let's do it together. You are the museum. It's not something else, something abstract or the stones or the art. You are it. And I think maybe we should wrap it up. There's at the end more time for questions, right? Because there will be and half an hour to talk. But so a big hand of applause for these three newcomers. Thank you so much, Lara, Marcus, and Emily. Good luck.
Thank you, Margriet, and esteemed panel. We have a very cool artist to introduce to you. Probably I must not say it, but I want to say it because he's a little bit sick, but he still came because he especially wrote a really cool text that he's gonna read for us now. He's a spoken word artist, was born in Amsterdam West. He was dubbed by newspaper Het Parool as the personification of Amsterdam, so it's a very special person. And he's also part of the coming art manifestation Refresh Amsterdam of the Amsterdam Museum. And we're thrilled to introduce him to you. Probably know him, Luan Buleskai.
Yes, dankjewel. I'm gonna do it in Dutch, so my first question is, who doesn't speak Dutch? Okay, you're gonna feel these words, I hope. De meest gestelde vraag op aarde is, where are you from? Waar kom je vandaan? Mokum, geboren en getogen. Leven in harmonie is geen toekomstmuziek, wij gaan het nu tonen. Waar kids elkaars levensverhaal delen op een kruifkoord. Het ontstaan van een nieuwe beweging. Waar Nederlands, straattaal, Derisha en Turks wordt gesproken in alle klassen. School, madrassa. Iedereen is gelijk, er is geen sprake van klassen. Waar we alle onze eigen koers varen. Van de beurs van Berlage tot de meest vergeten straten. Iedereen heeft een aandeel. Waar we zwaaien naar volk op de pont, varend naar waar het noorden ligt. Waar we het stadsdeel zien shinen, want er is eindelijk plek voor het noorderlicht. Waar theater 's avonds laat met elkaar praten en samenwerkingen aangaan. De Meervaart en Ita, waar Jessin en Clyde met haar scepters zwaaien. De sfeer proeven in bitterzoet. Sterren bezichtigen in de Melkweg. Paradiso is nog steeds een raasje. Het Amsterdam Museum knuffelt tegenwoordig met de Hermitage. We zwijgen niet in het Pakhuis. Hebben discussies aan de balie. Maar doen het allemaal met nieuwe liefde. Het Rembrandthuis schilderde perfecte plaatjes. Van Gogh had oor naar succes. Het mooiste uitzicht vind je in Bellevue. De fijnste mozaïek in West. Geef een brassa aan het Bijlmerpark. Speel theater buiten op de Dappermarkt. Mijn stad is uit de kunst. Waar Galit uit Damascus zijn monoloog schrijft en een thuis vindt. Waar een Hodan uit Mogadishu haar toonladders zingt en rust ervaart. Waar niemand aan zijn eigen lot wordt overgelaten. Want soms hebben we Mektab in eigen hand. Waar mijn vader vanuit Kosovo naartoe vluchtte in een tijd zonder AZC's of hotels. Met een potlood en een stapeltje A4'tjes schetste hij zijn trauma's, ijskoude nachten in een telefooncel. Waar ik altijd wel een platform kan regelen, via. Waar Touria weer tegen mij zegt, Luan, je legt de klemtoon verkeerd, het is Touria. Waar de regenboogvlag kleurrijk floreert. Waar de klokken van de Westerkerk luid luiden. Waar de minaret van de blauwe moskee glinstert in het ochtendlicht. Waar we strijden voor gelijkheid in prachtige en barre tijden. Waar een zwarte queervrouw CEO wordt van 5 bedrijven. Waar Bushra zich kleedt hoe zij wil zonder dat mensen kijken. Waar Anna 's nachts over straat loopt zonder dat mannen zich aan haar vergrijpen. Waar het verschil kleiner wordt tussen arm en rijk. En waar Ajax het kampioenschap viert op het Museumplein. En waar een drag queen niet meer door een taxi wordt geweigerd. Waar we streven naar evenwicht. Waar we parken uitbreiden omdat groen symbool staat voor levenslicht. Waar we niet meer dagenlang praten over diversiteit binnen de kunst- en cultuursector, omdat dat vanzelfsprekend is. Waar daklozen niet meer bestaan. Want socialisme is immers onze kracht. Waar we toeristen verwelkomen op de Prinsengracht. Maar waar het klimaat de dienst uitmaakt, want zij heeft ons innermacht. Waar we niet zoveel auto's meer gaan toelaten in de binnenstad. Waar het niet uitmaakt of je in je pak of je kloffie bent. Waar Eva elke ochtend glimlachend in het Amstelpark rondjes rent. Waar iedereen wortels heeft in elk continent. Waar de zaak van Mustafa niet plaats hoeft te maken voor de zoveelste hippe koffietent. Ik loop van Slotermeer naar Eiburg tot ik nergens meer naartoe kan. Alles is kids, achter de rits. Amsterdam zit in mijn jeans. Ik ken de buurten als mijn broekzak. De meest gestelde vraag op aarde is, where are you from? Waar kom je vandaan? Mokum, geboren en getogen. Leven in harmonie is geen toekomstmuziek. Wij gaan het nu tonen. But I'm gonna finish this in English, so everyone can understand this. Because art is one language. This is improv, and I will go on and on. But Amsterdam Art Week makes me feel really strong. Dankjewel.
Woo! Luan Buleskai, the man with the t-shirt, enough said, enough said. Now we understand why the Parool calls you the personification of Amsterdam. Thank you so much. For our next panel talk about hospitality at Amsterdam-based galleries, we welcome back at the stage Director of Amsterdam Art Week, Martina Halsema. And she will be joined by Renan Beunen, co-owner of Akinci, Pietje Tegenbos, Director of Tegenbos van Vreden, Emily Koster, founder and curator of No Man's Art Gallery, and Josilda da Goshaido, gallery owner of Josilda da Goshaido. That's my Brazilian, my take on Brazilian. I hope I said it slightly correctly. Welcome. There you go.
Yes, well, I think there are already many things spoken about that we also want to reflect on, but then from the perspective of the galleries. I think the importance of galleries within the art world are still sometimes underestimated, but I do feel that the topic is more prominently talked about, more and more at least. Galleries are one of the essential links within the ecosystem that we've been speaking about this evening. And with Amsterdam Art Week, we also want to emphasize on this fact. People often think of so-called blue chip galleries, but with millions in profits. But such galleries don't really exist here in Amsterdam, and also not really in the Netherlands. There is much talk about lowering barriers, so to open up the art world, to open up the galleries. But it's still not always perceived that way by visitors. So it's quite interesting that we really want to be more open, but it's still visitors don't really perceive the cultural sector, or at least the art world, to be an open environment. So tonight I want to talk to my guest about hospitality and openness in the gallery sector specifically, because within the Amsterdam Art Week we have 33 participating galleries, so it's quite a big number of the 55 participants, and they also are quite dominant within the ecosystem in a good way. So I think it's time to give them a bit more attention. So I think we go over a few of the questions, like what does it mean to be hospitable, but also what does it mean to be gastvrij, because I think it's not the same. How do galleries relate to the theme of hospitality and openness, and to what extent do you feel responsible for creating a welcoming environment in your gallery space, and what do you define as a welcoming environment, and of course, who are you welcoming, and welcoming for whom? So, and also from what examples can we learn? Because I think it's always good to look at good examples and to reflect on how we do, how we set up our space. Maurice already gave a small introduction, but I will give you a bit more extensive one. Pietje. Pietje Tegenbos from Tegenbos van Vrede is an art historian and art critic. She has written reviews and contemplative texts for several newspapers and magazines. But since 2009, you run together with Martin van Vrede, your husband, the gallery Tegenbos van Vrede in Amsterdam, where you represent a program of international contemporary art in combination with a side program of lectures, performances, film screenings, and book presentations, and much more. Josilda, your gallery shows a hybrid program of contemporary art, and since its founding in 2017, so still sort of young. Yeah.
Younger.
Your gallery philosophy is one of collaboration and shared opportunities, which I think is a very nice way of approaching your artist and bringing art to a next level. And Renan Beune, you are co-owner of Akinci, together with Leila Akinci, who founded the gallery space in 1988. From the start, the focus was on artists who incorporate socio-political, environmental and gender issues into the work. And since the beginning, the mission of the gallery is to be a career-building platform, as well as a solid base for the artists they represent. Emily, you are founder and co-director of No Man's Art Gallery. You started the gallery as an international pop-up gallery, sort of a nomadic gallery, so not necessarily in the Netherlands, organizing temporary galleries in 10 countries, including Iran, China, South Africa, and Mexico. And still, each year the gallery travels to a different country. Meanwhile, the gallery also has a permanent space now in Amsterdam, in Bos en Lommer. So I think, yeah, when we look at these galleries, there you all have your own way of approaching, yeah, the way of being a gallery, but also how to approach an artist and what is your vision with the gallery. And Renan, if I want to start with you, how would you describe the role of a gallery?
It's maybe a bit hard to say it now what exactly the role is, but I think we are sort of agents. I try to reach as far as possible for my artists. I'm running after fees, taking care of them. I try to, yeah, be as be as hospitable as possible. Yeah, I think that's a bit.
And can you maybe give an example of how you do that? I think, of course, with the Venice Biennale, maybe you can amplify a bit more, that we can have an example of how you bring your artists to a next level.
Yeah, that was, of course, the dream of every gallery, to have your artist at a Venice Biennale for your own country. We worked with Melanie Bonayo for more than 10 years, so we really were there from the beginning. We grow together. That's our aim in the gallery, to grow together. We were really her back office. We did almost everything for her to, are you okay? Are there any problems? She did the meetings with, for example, the Mondrian Fund, and we were always the one behind taking care, but also sort of gatekeepers, that she couldn't do more than, more shows or whatever. So we were the first to talk to curators or institutions.
And when you think of accessibility then within the gallery space, what is the first thing that would come to mind?
Of course, our doors are open for everybody, but I think that's something we all know and we all will say and we all aim. But I think what we try to do is I give a stage to my artist, and we try to reach every sort of people, and that they would feel welcome, that they see a show, sort of topic, and they think, yes, I go there. I want to learn more from the show that they're making in the gallery. And that's the fantastic thing of having a gallery, that you give a space to an artist, you give them stage, and we learn from our shows we make. And what we hope is that that's the hospitality we give, that people from wherever see that and think, hey, I can connect with that show in the gallery.
So then you would talk more about accessibility maybe for the visitor. And Emily, when I think of this accessibility, we talked about it the other day, and there was an example. You told me that someone was standing in front of the door, and the door was open of the gallery space, but someone just stood on the, just not really in, but also not really out. And you invited him to come in to see the exhibition, to have a look around, to really engage with the artwork. But then the person said, no, I'm just fine. And he stood there for 10 more minutes, but just reaching in, but not daring to step inside. So I think that is something, in Dutch we always talk about drempelverlagend werken. So I think, how could we do that? Even if you invite someone in, how can we be a more open space that people actually really enter?
Yeah, I find that quite an interesting question. We have 2 spaces in Bossenlomer. One also has a restaurant next to it. And the one with the restaurant, obviously, is much more accessible. So people there enter the restaurant first, and to go to the gallery, they just have to go up the stairs to visit. So we have way more natural and spontaneous visitors over there. And then 300 meters down the road, same gallery, same team, same artworks, but no restaurant. This happens, which does not happen at the restaurant. People, go on a date and they go and see the art together, which is amazing, I think. And in that sense, I'm really happy we have the restaurant, because we are able to host more, do very easy, have events, very low-key events, where people can have more angles, like a talk, for example, and a dinner or drinks afterwards, or we give a drink afterwards. So they come to the restaurant. It feels like they're coming to the restaurant, but they're actually coming to the gallery. Like, seduce them to come in. But I feel like, we have to seduce. We have to find ways to seduce guests to come in and not just stand on the drempel. How do you say drempel? Threshold, yeah.
And is it then something, because you have been working, instead of inviting people to Amsterdam, you also still do that, but you also went to another country, to many different countries, to bring your gallery there. Do you have any learnings? What do you think that you would like to bring here in Amsterdam? What did you experience
I think
around the world?
Yeah, the most important learning from that process so when we do a pop-up gallery, we go to a country for 3 months, really immerse ourselves in the art world, form a local team that works with us and also explains to us the local references to artworks, for example. And I think this is something, when we talk about hospitality in the gallery sector, we are always speaking about representing artists. But that word representation, can you truly represent an artist if you don't know the framework, the social, cultural, economic framework that these works have been created in and made in? You can see them from afar and introduce them to your clients and talk about them, but I think there's also, you really have to understand the world in which it was created from the artist to properly represent them. Then if you work with Dutch artists, it's easier because a lot of these references you share. But if you work with artists from abroad, then I think you have to go a few steps further to really, what we heard earlier also, to listen to things that don't necessarily come to the table when talking about the artwork. It's like a minor reference that's outside of the artwork, but did influence it. And I think that's, when we talk about hospitality for the galleries, is actually for me, it's the key factor that speaks to.
And how could we incorporate it a bit more here in the Netherlands?
I mean, listening to the artists, but also inviting them. I think we all do that. We go to their studios. We try to follow the practice for a longer time. We don't just look at one work and think, oh, I have a client for it because this client likes blue and this is blue. That's not what we do.
You also try to build a network, so that their platform becomes bigger, and that that their work is being seen and experienced. And I think that's one of the main targets of this hospitality also. And in that way, you can become part of each other's narratives. I mean, you have to enlarge the platform. And I think also for a gallery, it's really important to have this accessibility. And accessibility is something like in the small gestures, welcoming people, and the practical part. But it's also about knowledge. We have to share knowledge, and we have to share information. And in a gallery nowadays, you see a lot of the galleries complain about the lack of people visiting the galleries. And many people they find their information on the internet. And I think it's really important to find out other ways to attract people, to have this dialogue with people. Because I recognize a lot of what the institutions say about listening to each other and this mutuality. But for galleries, it's really difficult to get people to the gallery because they have been put aside as commercial parties and much less as being the agents for enlarging this platform as an advantage for a broader dialogue.
But I think also some people say that they don't dare to walk into a gallery space because they feel they need to have knowledge about the work represented. But I don't think people necessarily feel the same way about going to a museum. When you walk around an exhibition space, in a museum, you don't really think that you need to have all this background information, like the biography of an artist. But within a gallery space, people sometimes say that it is not really always as understandable what the show is about, or maybe that you don't have enough knowledge to understand it.
But that also has a lot to do with the attitude of galleries, that don't really have this accessibility because they don't spend enough energy on being hospitable.
Yeah. So Josilde, how would you do that?
I think it's welcome everyone, like people they walk on the street, of the buyers, of artists. Take everyone the same, not because actually to come inside the gallery is wel een big drempel. They find it difficult to come inside the gallery. Bijvoorbeeld, I have my gallery now since a year in Pape. I never come, and my neighbor never come inside because it's something that they are afraid to visit the gallery. I don't know why.
I think it's also to do with the relationship with the gallery. You know, you have the space, you are in a neighborhood. Because that's really the difference that I see with the restaurant, because these are a lot of people that visit our openings in Bos en Lommer are actually people from the neighborhood who are not necessarily interested in buying or maybe not even in the work sometimes itself, but they are interested in seeing something new, being also surrounded by something cultural. But the reason that they come and they don't come to our other space is because there is like a relationship, right? They have a reason to talk to us, and then we invite them not once but like 5 times. We really should come on Friday. You know, you really should come on Friday.
I do the same.
Yeah, and I think that that does help to invite people in. But yeah.
But also then, what does a neighborhood say about the location, how you are located, of course, within the city? Of course, everybody knows the Hazenstraat, where you have many galleries in one street. So people, it's easier to just go gallery hopping. You want to see a few exhibitions. But also, when you look at your gallery space, I think Bos en Lommer isn't really a space where people would normally think to visit a gallery. But you actually have 2. So how do you? Well, you're all situated in a less of a usual place, or not surrounded by many other galleries. How do you feel that affects the relationship that you have with the neighborhood?
The neighborhood, for me, people walk in from the neighborhood and they always wave and they look through the window. So that's not really the problem. I think in Amsterdam, people want to walk or to cycle, and they are not like in London or New York used to travel, big distances. But I don't think it really infects. I think, for example, the internet infects more the fact that you don't have so many visitors.
But in what way? How does the internet?
Because people look on the internet and then they decide whether it's interesting to come, or they have very specific ideas. You hardly have anybody doing this tour that they used to do on Saturdays. Visit all the galleries.
Do the tour online, you mean, and then decide which one do I want to pick out to go physically?
Yeah.
That's specific to here, though. If I think, for example, in the South African context, there's the first Thursdays, every first Thursday of the month. You know, you go gallery hopping. It's a social event. And in Iran also, there's the Galerie Gardi, and you go on a Friday afternoon, you go visit all the galleries, gallery openings. But we don't really have that.
I think not anymore, right?
I think it's also started a bit at school. We never ever learn something about a gallery on a school. You never go with school to a gallery, but if you watch a TV series, for example, I don't know, like Sex and the City or whatever, they always go to a gallery. There's always somebody working in a gallery. But in the Netherlands, there's never ever a gallerist. So you go to a museum, but a gallery, I don't know.
Do you have in school to learn how you can be a gallerist?
No. Well, yeah, there's somebody saying yes.
Yes?
Wow. Yeah, but I also think, because Lara, you also spoke about education, and it's very interesting because we actually this year tried to set up an educational project with schools to bring schools to the galleries instead of to the museums, because all schools go to museums, but not necessarily to the gallery space, even though a gallery space can be a safe space for children to engage with the art, but also with the artist, because most of the time work is represented from artists that are still alive and are most of the time also present during the setup of an exhibition. And actually, Pietje, I think the first thing when I asked you about accessibility within the art world, you immediately start talking about education, how important you find it.
Yeah, and I think education is the main thing, actually. That's also why I'm really enthusiastic about Amsterdam Art making their way into this system in Amsterdam to have schools visiting when we have this weekend and even kids meeting the artists. I think that's for them something different than being told in museums what it's all about. And instead of speaking with someone who's really working, doing it, and then it's from another, and then it's straight from the heart almost, eh?
Yeah. How is your, Emily, how did you see that in other countries? How do children come to the galleries?
I'm not sure if I can speak to that. I don't think I was in galleries when children were there. That's as far as my knowledge goes for that, yeah.
But then when we look at Amsterdam Art Week, we have the Family Sunday, where we invite families to the gallery spaces, but also we invented a game, which you can play not only in the galleries, but you can also use it in a museum, you can also use it in a project space, and it really tries to think of art and look at art in a different way, in a playful way, to make it more accessible, because art is also... when you already start with education and children can feel, but also with the children, also the parents see that art is something that you can talk about, that you can have a discussion about, you can see different perspectives. It's actually kind of an accessible thing itself, because all the things that you feel and you reflect upon can be there, and it's a point of discussion. So I think with families, it could be a very nice way to introduce them. But how could we also approach maybe more senior people, like young people, but not the children, but like the normal visitors, more from a playful perspective, Renan?
Yeah, that's not easy. I think it's a topic for every gallerist to get new people in the gallery. But to come back to the kids one moment, I told my artist this morning that there is a kids program on Sunday. She got a heart attack. We almost have 3,000 kilo of clay in the gallery on the floor with hand-blown glass bulbs, with wires hanging on the wall. Dogs and kids, I wouldn't recommend to come, but that's something to the parents. But to get new people in the gallery, well, I really, really believe in Amsterdam Art Week. So I think that's a way to get new people or younger people in the gallery. And I think we always need to welcome them, whoever they are, whoever they look. We cannot judge. And that's something for a gallerist, which is really important, because I think that galleries can be a bit snobby. And that's something we need to break through.
And then, Josilda, what would be a wish for the sector? Wish.
What I wish for the sector, more openness, more guides, more accepted people.
How could we already do that this art week?
Again?
How could we already implement that this art week?
It starts today or tomorrow. I'm trying harder to take my neighbors to the gallery. So I put some flyers to the brievenbus to ask them, visit the gallery, please, because I need you here in my neighbor. So I'm very curious to receive new people, new children, new older people. Everyone is welcome in my gallery, please.
Pietje, what would your wish be for the same question?
I think I was very impressed by one of the first events that we did with a small group of galleries together in Amsterdam. It was called NAP. Imara was also engaged in that, and it was with a curator. We asked the curator to make a show and to consider the spaces of the galleries as one space, and also the space in between, so the public space, and extend the show into that public space. And then we worked together with the other galleries, and we decided to share the costs, but also the benefits. And we invited all the guests together. We cooked together for the guests. And that was something that I found really inspiring. And also the fact that many people that before didn't visit the gallery visited it.
And I think it's interesting when I hear our conversation, but also your conversation, a lot of things come back to sharing a meal, sharing food. I think for me, always it has been a way to sit down, to start a conversation, because you actually take time instead of quickly with a cup of coffee, running around, going to another meeting, looking at your phone. I think at a table you're seated, so you're already a bit more calm, and you really take time to meet each other. And I think maybe there's also a part of the future, like you also have it, Emily, with your, when you have the restaurant and the gallery space. During Amsterdam Art Week, you host different breakfasts or lunches or brunches, and even a curated dinner. So it's maybe there's also a part of the future to be, to come more in conversation with each other, to really share the different stories, to share different experiences to take home, and maybe we should rethink also the structure of having different art spaces, or what we can do more. But I think always with an exhibition, you invite a group of people to already share a meal.
Do you all do dinners?
Yes.
Every exhibition?
No, I do and drink sometimes.
Drinks.
At the end of the day.
Every day.
Sometimes, yes, every day.
We don't do it every exhibition, but we build a kitchen 1.5 years, and we can host almost 30 people, and I cook myself. I really love to do it. And that was really a wish for me to be able to cook, to sit and to share and talk, and to have a low-key dinner. It's not very fancy, but that's what we aim, to be ourselves and to be with the artists, and not only collectors. It can be friends and curators. Yeah.
Then I think I would like to look at the audience. What would be a wish from the audience for the gallery sector, reflecting on these topics? Does anyone have a... Roy, me too.
Good evening. I hear a lot of conversations about dinner and eating, but there's no conversation about activism. I think the purpose of a gallery should be a satellite space for communities. And I think moving forward, one of the structures that galleries should function as, particularly ones that travel, that they should at least commit themselves to the community and community services that are outreach posts for children, for elders, for anybody. But I think one of the most important things that there should be a commitment to the community that you occupy, the space that you occupy. Let's not forget that a gallery is a white-walled cube serving an elitist space for collectors and people who have extra money to spend. So what is that extra money doing in these communities?
Good question. Do come over to the gallery and have a look.
I think the question is, galleries should have a manifesto to begin with, not just sideways and all of that. It should be, there should be a part of, it's like Goldsmiths is in the middle of New Cross, Columbia is in the middle of Harlem, and they have to be in the communities. They have to have a manifesto that reaches the community, that allows the community to go back and forth and feel proud that that space is there for them and for others coming to visit, not a space that is intimidating, and then also a space that they have to be coerced and cuddled and all of that to come to. It should be the space, the first space that if a car pulls and says, oh, you're going to that gallery, it's over there. It should be less intimidating and more inviting.
Yes,
and a gallery, that should be required of galleries, especially if you are going away from museums and white cube spaces that are occupied by white faces.
I think it's a very good, if I may respond.
Very good
of course,
question, yes.
Very good point that there's, I mean, of course, a very big explanation in the fact that we fail to draw people in, like that's what's happening, we're not getting it from the street, is that there's a lack of, you know, what's happening. There's a connection that's missing to the community that we are having that space in. I'm not sure if we should have a manifesto, because I think we should also have a space that the artist can occupy, because that is what we are also investing our time and our energy in, is to really allow an artist to tell their story. So I wouldn't want to impose for my gallery already a story beforehand onto that artist, right? But I do agree with you that when we're speaking about which place are we occupying physically, and why is there somebody standing in front of the door and not coming in, then this is exactly that. I do agree with you. Thank you for making the point.
Yeah. But I think that counts for all cultural spots, because, and cultural education, of course, is really important. But I think that the manifesto of the gallery is also the program that you show, and the way artists react to the context of the time, and how they work with that. But for example, in our neighborhood, it's in the center of Amsterdam, it's not the same as it is in Amsterdam West, for example. And
I think this is, I'm sorry, but we also need to have a look at the time. But I think this is a very interesting topic to continue. Yeah. But also we will have the drinks afterwards. And I think this is definitely an interesting topic that we can speak about much longer. Then I think, yeah. Oh, there's one more. There's one. Can we have one more as a concluding question?
I am really great and thankful that finally there's some attention for the art education, because I do find that that there's not a lot of attention to that from the Amsterdam art world to art education. I think there must be more attention for that, so I'm really grateful that that was finally a subject. And there are a lot of scouts, like there for students who sport or who are really talented in music, but I hardly see any scouts for art. And I think that's also the work of the gallerist, that to go scouting in schools, go scouting, and then bring young people to your place. I think that's maybe a good idea. What do you think?
Right.
What do you think?
But what exactly is the question?
Yes.
There are like a lot of scouts for talented students who sport or who play music or who have a lot of talents, but there are hardly scouts for students that make art. There's not a lot of attention to that. And then you talked about how to get young people into the gallery, how to get new people. And it starts with education, that's what I think. So how do you get to young people? It's also, but also make it the other way around. Turn it around. And
Shall
go
we
scouting.
summarize the question as how do you get young people to the galleries?
But young people as visitors or young people as makers?
Yes.
Both. Well, yes, young people as makers. I mean, we visit schools, art schools, academies. You try to find new talent, of course, and then to find new people, young people visiting the galleries. That's why I'm really enthusiastic about looking for a way to connect with the educational system, because it's really hard to get people out of the blue into the galleries. You have to really sort of collaborate in that sense too with schools, with the city government, with different parties, and also with the institutes and the museums.
But I think that is also something that goes with every age, not only with children, but also with people who haven't really experienced visiting cultural institutions like galleries or project spaces, or even don't know really what they are. So I think with every age, for people, if you're not really familiar, it is nice if you are invited, but also sort of giving a hand with a sort of program, so it's easier accessible for you.
I will be honest. Actually, our program is a little bit deriving from our own schedules, so that's always a good opportunity to improvise. So I would love to thank the panel for your insights. My summary would be it's somewhere between seducing, sharing, and stalking to get everybody in. Thank you so much. Give them a very big applause. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Emily Koster, Pietje, Josilda, and Renen, and of course, Martina Hilsema. And that brings us to our next speaker, because I think everybody wants to collaborate, co-create, and participate, and it's maybe good to have all these discussions and new narratives and new insights in a little bit with some drinks and some fresh air. But we want to close this program up with a very special performance. Actually, we've already heard some insights from him, but we're very glad that he's gonna give his take on the future of all the topics that we talked about. He's a London-based and also an Amsterdam-based multidisciplinary artist, also a future teller, and we want to have a very big round of applause for Femi Dawkins.
Good evening. Good evening. Come on, guys. All right, so I tried this at the other place. Right now, I'd like you to look to your left and to your right and greet each other. Just say hello to each other. Really. Just wake yourselves up and say hello to each other. Lovers, brothers, sisters, friends. Hello to my children, my partner, and to everyone who supported me. Okay. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the gods and ancestors who worked tirelessly to get me at this place of our celebration of joy, life, and art. I am also thanking the truth seekers, the ones who made it possible for me to be here, to make sure that I arrive at this place, who saw my cultural heritage, my personetto, and grew and learned and turned and gave me space and care. I feel you and hear you as you whisper encouragement up this long slope to arrive. Listen, Each and every one of you are here, and I thank you all for being here, thanking your ancestors for making you arrive at this place. Listen, art is community's medicine for the worst disease of the mind, the corruption of consciousness. I made my life a work of art. Art is the process of finding out what is at once inside oneself. Grace is a deep space of compassion and understanding, charity and love. The right, and this is important, the right to be in any room. The right to be in any room. Making space, to make peace, to make love, to make food, to make art. Wisdom is a shared space of living arts and breathing arts. Drawing is an act of hope and dedication. Healing, then, is an act of creation, and creation is an act of healing and transmutation and transformation. Blessed are they that thirsted after love, for they shall be fulfilled. There is no running from it. There is no meaning but meaning. Our search from it, our fleeing from it, and our longing for it. The radical other, mourning the mourners, mourning the passing of each other's passing. We have been in lockdown for 2 years. We've been distanced from each other for 2 years. We've not had and held each other's life in our hands for more than 2 years, and we continue to fall down that slippery slope. There is a spiritual warfare, and we must anchor ourselves. We are now having the spiritual autopsy. We are dissecting each other's light. We are forgetting that amidst all that noise, there is care. There is care. The word curator means to care for. As curators of institutions, as curators who call themselves curators in galleries, care, self-care. We've been on lockdown in this country and no one has ever talked about self-care publicly. We have strayed. What is that Dutch expression? Los van God los. Anyway, we have strayed far from that path. Precarity without sanctuary. Listen, through my making art, I am mourning the mourners, giving breath to those mourners, those who have lost and are lost or losing. I have sought to edit, annotate, and portray visual language as action, sonic language as freedom, and quiet as voice. The form of contemplation, invocation, exorcism, and ritual, the seminal expression of learning what it is to be unremarked upon, unrecognized, and simply overlooked. It is a spiritual autopsy of sort, going deep inside and allowing one's own true emotions such as rage and love and anger and confusion to come. There is an affinity that needs to be developed to the land, the races, the species, the crises, the migrants, the refugees, and the dying dead, surviving but for the sheer will to survive, when surviving is fortune to overstand that the final authority is not human. It is not human, but the world as made by every living entity and the planetary structure of the universe. Precarity without sanctuary is nothing. We have been emotionally mutilated. Science is these days takes wings from angels. Wisdom, again, is a shared space. Healing is an act of creation. Drawing is an act of dedication and love. What it means to be unremarked upon and quiet as it's kept. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Femi Dawkins. Wow, this is... it's probably standing in an art work. Sorry. This brings us to the end of this this very special program. This were the kick-off conversations and drinks of the Amsterdam Art Week 2023. We want to thank all our speakers, our dear guests at the stage. Margriet Schavenmaker, Emily Ansenk, Lara Caldi and Marcus de Sando, Martina Halsema, of course, Renan Beunen, Pietje Tegenbos, Emily Koster, Josilda da Conchachao. That's better, all right. Luan Bouleskai, Femi Dawkins, of course, and our wonderful crew at Amsterdam Art, Amsterdam Museum en Pakhuis de Zwijger. So Emma Waslander, Babette Kolf, Annemarijn van der Kolk, Daan Verwerda, Romy Heijmans, and the whole technical crew of Pakhuis de Zwijger. And of course you, all the artists, all the gallerists, all the curators, all the journalists, everybody who is an art lover, a collector, and a culture geek. Please have a very good Amsterdam Art Week this coming week, and let's stay together in this one. This is our ecosystem, this is our community, maybe even our family. Thank you, and until next time.